You're watching This Week in Space with Miles O'Brien.
Hello and welcome to the start of something new and exciting. I'm Miles O'Brien, and you are watching the premiere edition of what we hope will become the premier place for space fans to get a fix on what is happening off the planet. This Week in Space is powered by SpaceflightNow.com, a pioneer in bringing the world of space to the World Wide Web. A little more about our mission plan later in the program, but first, let's light the candle, as they say. And just what kind of candle U.S. astronauts will be strapped onto in the post-space shuttle era is where we begin. NASA Administrator Charlie Bolden dropped into the White House the other day. He met with President Obama to talk about what is next for the space agency. Now, we're told the meeting went well, that no decision has been made, but that it will come soon. And listen to this. When it does come, the president himself will make the announcement. If you're a tea leaf reader, that little tidbit bodes well for those of us who want the U.S. to stay in the manned space racket. Would Obama stand before the nation and give a speech which says, in essence, we choose not to go to the moon because it's too hard and too expensive? Unlikely, I think. That's just my 2 cents here. The White House space confab comes 4 months after the Augustine Committee shared its thoughts on what the U.S. should and should not do in the after-shuttle years. No matter which course Team Obama chooses, it means giving NASA about $3 billion more a year, or in essence, stop sending humans to space. So the space nation waits for word, hoping for a puff of white smoke from the conclave. Let's begin with a word from one of the august members of the Augustine Commission, former NASA astronaut and our good friend, Leroy Chiao. Thanks for being with us, Leroy. Remind people what the options were that the Augustine Commission presented to the Obama administration.
Well, we were chartered to create options and evaluate the program of record, and we came up with 3 option sets. The first one is called the constrained options, which are options constrained to the fiscal year 10 budget. The second set and the third set both call for increasing funding over that budget. And the first one emphasizes lunar first exploration, whereas the second set emphasizes what we call a flexible path.
And the flexible path means potentially going to, say, an asteroid or some other location in space.
Correct. The flexible path does not preclude a lunar landing. In fact, one would definitely be envisioned, but you might go and explore a near-Earth asteroid or something like that, or Lagrange points, and at some point you would want to land on the moon to test your lunar surface systems and your landing systems.
A lot of people read that and got pretty excited about it. We haven't heard a peep, however, from the Obama administration. Are you surprised?
Frankly, I'm a little surprised because, we were asked to complete our report pretty quickly in anticipation that there would be an impact on the fiscal year 10 budget. So I'm a little surprised that we haven't heard anything.
Yeah, you rushed to get that report together. I know you were very busy, and it's now 4 months and not a peep. And I realize in the context of all that's gone on that there's a lot of fish to fry in Washington, but this affects the gap, the amount of time that the U.S. cannot fly in space. How much does it impact it?
Well, that's right. And we looked at it and we said, well, gosh, there's going to be at least a 5 to 7 year gap. And frankly, the longer a decision is delayed, it's going to contribute to that gap, and not necessarily only day to day, because the momentum that goes on with the program and shifting gears, it may take even longer. That is, each day may actually be a little longer than a day delay in the gap.
And when you talk about the gap, it's not just we're going to lose the thrill of watching U.S. astronauts launch from the Kennedy Space Center. We're going to lose a lot of people, aren't we?
That's right. And in a year and a half or so, most likely or very likely, the shuttle program will be ended. And all those people, they're going to go off and do other jobs. Similarly, aerospace engineers and other professionals, they're going to go off and do other things. And we're going to be faced with trying to rebuild that capability as we bring the new programs online.
Not an easy task. Why not just march forward with Constellation, Ares, Orion, as it is currently laid out?
Well, one of the things we looked at, of course, very carefully was the so-called program of record. It has been underfunded from the beginning. It's on an unsustainable trajectory. So if some version of the program of record is continued, as, for example, option 3, one of our lunar first options, it's going to take more money. There's got to be a commitment of more funding. And frankly, the Ares family of rockets has faced technical and other programmatic challenges, and may or may not be the right way to go. It's going to be up to the administration and the NASA to figure out what they feel is the best path forward.
Leroy Chiao, thanks for your time.
My pleasure. Good to be with you.
Although the Augustine Commission did not offer up recommendations, it's clear they want NASA to focus on moving beyond low Earth orbit, creating some space, if you will, for entrepreneurs to go boldly where only the government has gone before. The man in the vanguard of this is one Elon Musk, the PayPal multimillionaire who now heads a company called SpaceX. This company won a NASA contract to build rockets that will deliver cargo to the International Space Station. But Musk hopes to do more than that. He one day would like to offer a ride to orbit for human beings. SpaceX plans to test its Falcon 9 rocket and Dragon space capsule in early 2010. No people aboard. Former NASA astronaut Ken Bowersox is now working on safety issues for SpaceX. Sox, it's great to have you with us on the program. Tell us about Falcon 9. Is it really going to be a safe alternative to send U.S. astronauts to space?
You know, Miles, I think there are a lot of great things about Falcon 9 that make it the safest architecture there is for a rocket. It's got a lot in common with the Russian Soyuz, which is one of the safest launchers that's ever flown. It uses kerosene and liquid oxygen propellants, which are easier for folks to handle on the ground. It's going to have engine-out capability. You can lose one engine right at liftoff and still make it into orbit. It's also got a minimum number of staging events, just a couple of events that have to occur in order for the Dragon to get separated from the main rocket. All that is information that leads me to believe that Falcon 9 is going to be a great way to carry humans into orbit.
What's it going to take, though, to get NASA, to get everybody comfortable with the notion of strapping people inside Falcon 9?
Well, I think the biggest thing that folks outside of SpaceX want to see is that we're serious about it, that we're not taking this as some sort of a big game. And I can tell you the folks here are very serious about it, starting from Elon all the way down to the guys working on the floor. We know that the safety of the rocket and the reliability of the rocket flows right into the safety of the astronauts that will ride on it someday.
Can you do it faster, better, cheaper? There are certain laws of physics which get in the way of trying to do things cheaper when you're talking about going to low Earth orbit.
Well, the way we say it is we're going to make the safest, most reliable, and economical transportation into low Earth orbit. So safety comes first, then comes reliability, and finally comes economics. But economics is one of the things that we think about, and I think it's possible.
At this point, you've had several tests with Falcon 1, a lot of missteps along the way, frankly. How much confidence is there that Falcon 9 will succeed in the end?
Well, all of those flights of Falcon 1 were great learning events for the team at SpaceX. And the knowledge from Falcon 1 is going to roll right into Falcon 9. It's not a completely new start. There's a lot of differences in Falcon 9. It's a lot bigger. It's got a lot more engines, but those engines are the same engine that was on the Falcon 1. The propellants are the same. A lot of the structural design is the same. And then the avionics and software has common heritage. So it's a natural evolution from Falcon 1 to Falcon 9 that we think will help us achieve success a lot more quickly with Falcon 9.
Ken Bowersox, thanks for your time.
All right, great talking with you, Miles.
Now, Sox may make it sound easy, but they don't call it rocket science for nothing. The real question is this: is the private sector ready to take on this huge challenge anytime soon? Remember, there have only been 3 civilian forays into space by Burt Rutan's Spaceship One, and these were brief suborbital hops, not Mach 25 trips to low Earth orbit. Former NASA Administrator Mike Griffin has some strong feelings on this. We'll hear from him in our next segment.